One of the cardinal sins of most people before they get onto a sales call, whether that's an initial warm intro to potential lead that you hope to make a lead, or a first qualified sales call, is actually doing the preparation. I'm going to show you on this call live how to prep for an upcoming call in 5 minutes or less. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Go-to-Market Lab. This is a podcast specifically for those in the B2B tech software startup world, for founders and revenue leaders who are really trying to figure out what works and what doesn't in order to get to those growth targets in the early stage, whether you're in pre-seed, seed, or going up to Series C. This is the podcast for you. One of the cardinal sins of most people before they get onto a sales call, whether that's an initial warm intro to potential lead that you hope to make a lead, or a first qualified sales call, is actually doing the preparation. So I'm going to run the timer and we're going to come up with prep for a very short call. The more informed questions and deeper questions you ask, just like a good reporter, the best interviewers on Dateline, news channels of the world, Oprah's of the world, the best interviewers really do ask these questions that are deeper questions. They come in prepared and they ask questions that are not face value. And as a result, you're going to get deeper answers in a faster, more efficient way and take advantage of that precious time you have with a prospect or a lead or a potential customer. So we're going to put some time here on the shot clock and going to go through a scenario. So just because it's familiar, the company is familiar, so I can fact check any data here. And I know this company has data online. I'm going to pretend that I am a sales rep, an account executive for net new logos, for searching for new customers at my last old company, Archer Integrated Risk Management, which is basically, we call it GRC, Governance Risk Compliance Tools, effectively workflows for workflow management for those whose full-time job is to manage risk, compliance, security compliance, et cetera. Okay, so let's pretend that we've got a meeting with the Chief Information Security Officer at the last minute tomorrow of American Red Cross, a company that we really, really want to meet with. Now, I'm not personally connected to him. So again, Vicus, I hope you're okay with this. And again, so this is actually good because we're hiding your last name, but I don't know him. I don't have affiliation or any cookbacks with Archer. And so I'm literally just using this as an example. So we're going to go to ChatGPT, again, my research tool of choice. I'm using model 4.0, which is pretty reasonable for most tasks, unless you want to do some super, super deep research comparisons with data, et cetera. So, by the way, just pro tip, I got really happy with, if you go here, you can choose to run deep research. Because I do pay for the $200 account. You have so many chances to use that. And so I burned all mine literally researching for the right shoe for my hip hop dance classes. So just be wary that don't use deep research if you don't need to. So anyways, that was just a pro tip, but kind of a funny aside. So, all right. So we are going to look at, so we know his name is Vicus. And so I'm going to say, I am an account. So this is not a trained GPT, and everything I'm doing, by the way, if you find that it's helpful, it's super easy to turn this into a GPT that is already loaded up with all these questions and trained on your product and common objections, et cetera. If you're a company that's not at least starting to train your own GPT as really your live wiki and live internal help desk, then in my opinion, you're losing out. But again, this is fresh, not trained. I've not used this GPT, my ChatGPT account at all for any Archer outbound as an Archer sales representative. So, okay, so here we go. So I'm an account manager with a needing to prepare for a first call with the CISO of American Red Cross, Vicus. I have not met him before. I want to utilize the 30 minutes to establish credibility, understand his or her their main business objectives and pain points, and learn and provide an introductory value-oriented pitch of my product, Archer IRAP. I would like you to prepare a brief of what the, not in this case, I think we all know it's nonprofit, what the nonprofit does, who are their main competitors. And that's not the right word for nonprofits, but let's go with it. What are their key business initiatives per their recent earnings calls or press releases in 2020, and let's call it July 2024 or later. It's super important, by the way, if you wanted to do research, to tell it what time period, or else I find that ChatGPT actually defaults to what feels like 2023 articles, and maybe even 2021 in some case, which I don't like. So I'm very specific about this. Also any key information you can find about Vicus's own team's own personal areas of interest or the cybersecurity program as a whole. All right, so here we go. So this is, oh shoot, I forgot to start the time here. So we're gonna shorten this for 4.5 minutes. Let's see how this goes. Okay, so give us a brief. So founded in 1891, the American Red Cross nonprofit. Yep, that's right. If you guys want to fact check again, so I'm hovering over it. It's from 2025, so I like that reference. We're going to talk about leadership, blood donations. Again, this is really good, quick read. Okay, give me a sense about, so I know what they do. Competitive landscape, who are the typically big people that they're fighting for that funding dollar for. And it is going to pull back Vicus's information. So he's the VP CISO, over 2 decades of experience, 11 years in nonprofit. It looks like his key focus areas based upon what they found. So this one's a little bit older. So I don't know if I would do Service Edge and kind of reference that. That's interesting that he was leaning into that technology, balancing security and usability, vulnerability asset management. This is from a 2023 conference. And so that's okay information. I wish we had more, but it says here, so preparing for a call, establish credibility, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. That's not what I asked you to do, but let's just say this is kind of good enough right now, given the time we have. So we got 3 minutes left on the shot clock. So prepare a list of information seeking questions I can ask to discover his main security, his main risk and compliance, clients' pain points, make sure the questions sound like I've done my homework, e.g. are insightful, and show I have knowledge of about the American Red Cross. Let's see what it comes up with. So we're at 2.5 minutes left. So, all right, risk and discovery questions. Given the scope of ARC's operation from blood, okay, this is a pretty good question. So how do you currently prioritize the risk reduction mission critical functions? I saw comments about your flexibility and security coexisting. How do you assess and mitigate risk with field volunteers, which I love? Are they specific risk domains, supply chain, physical, etc.? IRM gaps. These are really good questions because, as you can see, they are specific to what they do. This one is pretty generic, I would say, but I would definitely think that what they call out in terms of the regulations, those are applicable. and they comment around ESG, et cetera. So again, some of these are okay, some of them, but here's what I like about this. It actually took the time, again, I haven't trained this on Archer, to actually group up. I'm familiar with their products. They broke these down into audit, IRM, third-party digital transformation, reporting visibility. So these are really good breakdowns as you kind of go down different routes. If you guys are listening, sell a platform in which has different solutions for different buyers, this definitely becomes a little bit iffy if that same persona can really maybe like module A more than module C, but you won't know that until you get on the call. So it's nice to have a lot of ability to sell different things and not just a one-trick pony, but it also means you have to be uber prepared and you get on the call to make sure you're kind of ready for anything. So I really, really like these questions. And so what I'm going to ask it next is say, can you give me some background information? Actually, with less time on the clock here, 30 seconds, I'm going to say, can you give me a customized, personalized elevator pitch to the CISO about what Archer does that will resonate with him in terms of value. And let's see what it does. And we are out of time, so let's see what it has here. So I guess I know your team has been tasked with securing a uniquely complex environment, blood operations, disaster relief, donor system, thousands of volunteers, all without slowing down your mission. Archer helps CISOs like you get a unified real-time view of risk, compliance, and resilience across the enterprise so you can shift from reactive firefighting to confident forward-looking decisions. It's built for environments like yours where risk needs to be managed holistically, but with agility your teams demand in field. Would you like a one-liner? What does this actually do? So I like this a lot. This is still fairly high level. So I think what's in this pitch, so I know the Archer pitch very well. So I think this is there's nothing inaccurate about it. It definitely is high level, but I like that in this case because until you can get more information on the call, it is very hard to feed into this any more personalizations. One thing that I would love to see companies start doing is you can start bringing an AI SE to the call and literally load it up just like your note taker and it start to react and you literally listen to the call and start crafting these real time. So I find that really, really, really cool stuff. So more on that in another episode, but that is one example. I'm going to go to another example here. And just because I know him, he was a former guest of this podcast, I know he wouldn't use this. So, hey, Scott, I'm going to assume that I'm selling to Scott Mosier. And I'm going to assume I'm going to use a new GPT. Again, pro tip, if you haven't used GPTs before, you really need to, in theory, if you're working with a client over and over again, you can really create a project to create all those chats organized, but you should start a new chat every time, a new session. That way your backup, your follow-up questions are not trying to look at your past information. So I'm going to pretend that I'm selling to Scott Mosier and I'm going to sell to him a product that I know a little bit about it, but not a lot. Palo Alto's Prisma Cloud. And I think they might actually own it. So we'll see if I'm able to find that out in a second. So, but let's say what we're doing is we're meeting with Scott, and whether it's a net new logo or an upsell, we really want to perhaps assume that this is a situation if they do have Prisma Cloud, we've not ever had a conversation with Scott before. So this is really the first time we're having an executive alignment call. Either he knows a product or doesn't know the product. So let's find that out. So first is, I am, and let's start the shot clock now. So I am an account executive selling to Sabre. Do they already own Cortex Cloud? Now, obviously, hopefully your CRM has this, but I have not done the search before, so I'm actually just going to double check here. Okay. All right. So it looks like it's saying that they, doesn't indicate, but it does say that they've implemented products in this suite. So let's say, basically it's saying that they do have an existing relationship. So let's just go with that right now. So, okay. I have a first meeting with Scott Mosier, CISO of Sabre. I've only met with his direct reports for the last few years. My goal is to ask informed questions to quickly understand his main concerns and roadblocks to success of his team's goals for 2025 for the cybersecurity objectives they have. Given what info you can find about Scott Mosier and Sabre industry earnings calls or press releases or 10Ks published in the last 6 months, what are questions that I can ask? Make sure they are asked to showcase that I've done my homework and know about the business, about the Sabre. I won't read it too much. All right, let's just go with that here. So we've got 4.5 minutes. So it's going to search. And again, I'm fact checking this. I highly recommend, if you were a little bit suspect about hallucinations, do this first with ChatGPT and then do it your own way, whether that's calling your friends and family or using old school Google search or whatever that is. Do that first or alongside this and then see if you're comfortable. So in this case, I know Scott quite well, so I can see, and I know this Sabre organization. So it's giving me importance of CISO facing business challenges. That's right. Meaningful conversations demonstrate your understanding of leaderships and of his leadership philosophy. Okay. So recent sale of the hospitality solutions, which I didn't know, May 2015. So that's good that they've sold this business. I didn't know. How is the cybersecurity team adapting to support the renewed focus? That's a great question. Really great, informed question. The partnership between Sabre and Google enhancing AI-powered solutions. How is your team ensuring that cybersecurity measures are in place? This is an okay question. I think it's good place to start. I would ask the follow-up, flip side of that. If he answers with, here's all the great stuff we're doing, is, oh wait, well, that sounds like a great list of, you've done some great initiatives. What do you feel like are still open gaps? That would be a good follow-up question. Okay, we're looking at here risk management and governance. And actually I can see that this is responding almost, I think, really that from an Archer lens, not from a Cortex Cloud lens. And so I'm going to catch it and say, I'm with Cortex Cloud, not with Archer. Can you make sure the questions are aligned to what Palo Alto and Cortex Cloud does? Okay. So again, this is a real-time demonstration. This is what you're going to find, is that you really, to me, your brain has to be turned on and not off as you're absorbing this information. So this looks more appropriate. So it's talking about the hybrid cloud environment. What are the top, which is true, and what are the top challenges you have in seeing visibility and control? What are the current control gaps? So this is pretty generic. That's okay. AI automation. What's the biggest opportunity you see for AI and ML across your threat detection and incident response that is related in your security operations models? Is it playing a good role? Okay, I'm just going to press it one more time and say, I think these questions are good, but still sound generic. Can you personalize them even more for Sabre, the company, their security team's mission, and Scott's professional interests? And let's just push it again and see what it does. And we have 50 seconds left on the shot clock here. Okay. We got the divestiture question again. We've got the Google Cloud partnership. You've got, oh, this is interesting. So it's noting from 2024, 17 on-premise data centers moved to Google Cloud. What challenges have you encountered to consistent security, visibility, and control across? It's an excellent question. How's your team leveraging automation? Again, another excellent question, knowing at a high level, not getting paid by Palo Alto. I do know about Cortex Cloud from one of their specialists. And so I know enough to fact check this. Okay, so what's the next question? Sabre has utilized Cortex SDR. So this is good. So this is what you're doing currently. How are you planning to expand the use of it? Again, and at the time, considering your use of this product, how are you orchestrating security workflows? Really, really good stuff. So again, at a minimum, so what we did is two things just to review. We can do a prompt just to give us baseline information about what they do. And you can go down that path, or you can then, I would say, once you've done that, then you start asking the GPT to give you questions. The reason why I do it in that order is because when you're asking it questions around, and truly with your own intellectual curiosity, trying to understand, what does that company do? What are the headwinds and tailwinds in their marketplace? What are they facing in order to stay competitive, et cetera? That you're going to go back and forth ideally. So let's just say you're spending 15 minutes or so. You're going to go back and forth with it, try to find the information. Then you've loaded up that chat thread with that information. So when you come in and then next say, hey, with this information, give me the questions I should ask, it's going to utilize all that stuff you already found, right? It's just kind of thinking about how would you do this in sequential order that you're coming up with the results of the prompts that is the most robust that you can make it. And then as we just showed in this last example, sometimes it will come back and might, just like it did, it kind of assumed, it got confused and thought that we were perhaps talking about another solution. You might need to go back and pressure test, say, hey, I don't really like this. This is what I don't like, and give it specific or macro level guidance and ask it to do it again. And just keep asking it. Don't get frustrated. I say kind of treat this as an intern who is not an expert, but can follow directions really, really well, but you have to be specific with those directions. So that's that. If you want something even better, so let's say you are an account manager and you work on a sales team, or I'm going to bring on one of your product management leaders, or you're going to bring on a sales engineer. And so you want to make sure they're not wasting time. You guys are not doing this individual prep. Perhaps you want to create this and put this into a brief. You can say, can you collect this background information on the company, and Scott, include the questions you've created, and make it into a downloadable Word document format for my Cortex Cloud sales team colleagues. And it will do that. Now, again, another quirk, sometimes when you hit download, it will say, hey, this error out, just ask it again, and it will regenerate it. Excels are definitely very iffy in my personal experience, but Word docs tend to be, fairly foolproof. So let's see what it came up with here. Let me share my screen. And this is what it came up with. So pretty good. I like it, short, sweet. It's something that I think I can stick in the media environment. I think people will read, but really good stuff. So that was your crash test in using a GPT, in this case, OpenAI, to prep for a meeting. So again, sales professionals, founders, you must prep for meetings. Everybody else is doing it. If you don't, really, there's no excuse. There was an excuse before, and now there very much is not. And remember, you only have a few shots. Shoot your shot, but you're not going to get a clear look every time. So especially if you're in startup mode, every single one of those meetings count. I always talk about, it's nice to track conversion metrics, but in my mind, you need less leads if you can convert more. If you can take more shots that go in, you don't need as many shots. And so this is the goal. So you really want to make sure and maximize and think about, it could have taken $1,000, multiple hours just to generate some marketing content that even attracted perhaps an inbound lead, or you got the work from an SDR to use outbound tools and those subscriptions to go get a meeting. So if you have a meeting, take advantage of it. Literally, hopefully it showed you really maybe for your first time, 30 minutes. You can be really, really, really highly effective in 30 minutes. Very highly effective once you get used to it, and you've got your prompt saved that you typically use, and you can even do a GPT. You could literally do this, and I would quote 10 minutes or less, with allowing yourself to do some back and forth time on asking follow-up questions after you get information from the prompt. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Go-to-Market Lab. I really hope for everybody listening that founders, revenue leaders of startups, that this was something that is helpful. And hopefully if you are already doing this and you have tips you want to add for any of the listeners, please make sure to subscribe and comment on this particular episode, whether you're listening in Spotify and Apple Music and YouTube, or feel free to message me on LinkedIn. Direct messages, I accept those. And so welcome and love to hear from you. If you have any specific items as a sales rep or a sales manager that you'd love to see that you think you can do, but maybe you're struggling with, definitely send that my way and we'll consider those for future episodes. So take care and happy selling.